Hello, welcome to episode 219 of We Were Gamers, a podcast where Michael and I almost died.
I actually wound up getting even more bitten up yesterday, but yes.
Oh, I was talking about literally feeling like I might explode.
Oh, yeah, that too.
JJ, we did it.
What? What did we do?
We tested the barbecue theory.
The what?
A couple episodes ago, we did the sides you've got to have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so for a birthday, we did a social distance barbecue, and I smoked mac and cheese.
That sounds pretty good.
It was, in hindsight, we should have taken some pictures of the before and the after.
The after was really impressive. Yeah, we probably should have. There was very little time in the before between it coming off and us going, we should just eat now.
Oh, I was thinking the before with just a pile of cheese in the center of the dish.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What, 14-inch? 16-inch?
14 or 16.
14 or 16-inch cast iron, JJ.
It's big.
Piled to the brim with cheese and milk. Smoked at 180 degrees until it melted.
You know, it's funny we're talking about barbecue. My wife and I made pulled pork the other day, like Kahlua style pulled pork in a slow cooker.
Good choice.
Stuff is great. I will tell you, I know nothing about how to do this right, but we used a slow cooker. We put a bunch of strips of smoked bacon at the bottom.
Oh my.
And the giant pork on top, and then I forget, like salt and paprika and a few other things, like some garlic and whatever. Not even like a complicated seasoning recipe. That stuff is amazing.
Oh
we have so much of it left over because you buy like a loin, that thing is huge, man. Or wait, not a loin,
a shoulder. You're talking a shoulder.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, shoulder.
I actually, funny
it's
story.
so big. You get like the smallest one is like 2.5 pounds.
Oh yeah, no, that's literally part of a funny story I told over the weekend. Was one of the grocery chains around here was selling pork shoulder for $1.99. But if you bought
a pound, wow, that's cheap.
I know. But if you bought it bone in, it was $2.49 a pound.
What? Okay, I'll take the cheaper one, I guess.
Oh, but they ran out of boneless.
Oh, yeah, of course they did.
Oh, but if you ask the butcher, they'll debone it, and then it counts as boneless. So I took a 7-pound bone-in shoulder to the back to the butcher and said, can you debone this? It became a 4-pound pork shoulder and became $1.99.
Love it.
I know, it's great, isn't it? The barbecue was amazing. The sides were great. Cornbread, not my number one of the two.
Yeah.
The mac and cheese.
It would have. So the one thing that I didn't mention to you, Andy, so it wouldn't have been. I told you that it wouldn't have been cornbread, but we saw that they had deviled eggs on the menu too late.
Oh man!
After we had already ordered. Not only do they have deviled eggs on the menu, you could order them either as regular deviled eggs or deviled eggs topped with your choice of meat.
Oh.
What are you doing? Come on.
You want brisket? You want brisket or tri-tip on your deviled eggs?
Yeah, I do. All right, none of these things were a food crime.
Sorry, I will say that also my wife and I took Michael's advice and have the recipe for New Brunswick stew printed out and are slowly gathering ingredients.
Great choice.
We have some leftover pulled pork, so
Yep.
I don't know when we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do it sometime.
Get it? Sounds good, Michael. You have a food crime for us to absolve us of having made good food.
Yeah, I need to know if this is a food crime. I'll run it by the group. So I'll throw a couple of words at you, and you let me know if the fusion sounds intriguing or is going too far.
We've started with the word fusion. We're already in trouble.
The bench of the Honorable Court of Food Crimes is now in session. Hear ye, hear ye.
All right. Chocolate mochi, xiaolongbao.
What is in the Xiaolongbao? I have to ask, even though I don't think I'm going to like any answer.
I think from the pictures that I saw, it is just like a liquid chocolate center.
What makes
Oh,
it,
so not meat.
No.
what makes it soup?
I think it's the fact that the chocolate is still like you have a molten center and a molten chocolate cake. I think the
Nah.
chocolate is that.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not buying it. That's
Why
just a
did they
sweet
call it
dumpling, man.
Xiaolongbao?
Yeah, it's not.
It's a hot mochi.
Right. It's a sweet dumpling. You can just buy dumplings like this.
Yeah, but I think
Filled
it
with
has
chocolate
So
or
I think it
whatever.
has the dumpling outside, and then a layer of mochi, and then the molten chocolate.
Oh, they
center.
wrapped the mochi in dumpling
Pastry dough?
That's what it looks like from the pictures.
So Xiaolongbao dumpling wrapped around mochi around hot molten chocolate.
But it's not even wrapped. It's just like it's dumpling dough wrapped around a mochi.
Food creme.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
I don't know that it sounds bad.
I mean, if you're gonna fry mochi, right, which is what you do with the dumpling, right? Because you take it and then you
Well,
fry
it's a
it.
Xiaolongbao, so this
No,
is
so
steamed.
it's steamed.
Oh, right. That's even sillier. If you were to, I was just gonna, if you were to do the mochi and you want to fry it, you could just fry the mochi. You don't have to take steps. You just do it.
The reason I name this a crime is because every step of the way I'm picturing somebody taking a mochi ice cream ball and wrapping it and then steaming it, and it's like the worst possible picture in my head. Even though I think the flavors would all be good.
Yeah,
it's just
I think the flavor would work.
the flavor would
Yeah.
be fine, but then you think about it, it's steamed. It just sounds like mush.
I guess I don't know how permeable the dumpling wrapper would be to the mochi inside. I guess I would have to see it. I don't know. I don't like. It sounds gross and bad. Like I don't think you should do this.
Mental texture crime.
Yeah, there we go.
Flavors okay, textures suspect.
Yeah, because the dough is kind of.
Gavel slamming sound. We're moving on. Bros, don't let your self get as out of shape as I have gotten.
Oh no!
Ring Fit has injured my triceps.
Wait, which one is the tricep? I got to do the thing again. Okay, got it. Why that one in particular? That's a strange muscle to say you have injured.
There's a motion where you have to like pull the ring apart. And I got tired and I stopped using my back to do it like you're supposed to. Yeah, not good. Michael, I have questions for you about Ring Fit.
Okay.
Posture is important.
Posture is very important. It gets mad at you with your leg posture, but never tells you to straighten your back, which is a problem.
Yeah,
What-
there's no good way for it to monitor that, right?
Right.
Because you're holding the ring and you have the other controller strapped around your leg. There's nothing that could tell you, oh, your back is out of alignment.
It does good job of being like your legs are not low enough for this exercise.
Yes.
I thought it was cool today that I noticed when I switched my nunchucks, it changed the color on the ring.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I switched from yellow to black ones. Anyway, I cannot tell for the life of me. Oh, hold on. You can't drop this in the chat. Din Tai Fung is making these. We're not going
Sorry.
back.
Yeah.
Hold on.
we can't
Whoa.
do that.
Okay. That changes my opinion, but not a lot.
It changes my opinion in so much as I know my assumption that the flavor is good is correct.
Right. Because, Din Tai Fung knows what they're up to, and they're not going to make a dumpling that tastes awful.
Right.
But I still,
Dang it. Can we
Sorry,
get these?
sorry to derail you. I should
we
have
get-
the picture ready to go
Can
sooner.
we get them
but
to go?
I
might-
think they're doing
We
to
might
go right
need
now.
to do a podcast
Din-
field trip.
Din Tai Fung is probably only doing to go at this point. So, yeah.
Yeah, but certain items don't get to go, treatment. they
Yeah,
don't
I don't know
travel.
that I would get. I don't know that I would get soup dumplings to go. I would get other things.
Anyway.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't go to Din Tai Fung if I'm not getting soup dumplings then.
Well, yeah, touche.
Screw that. This place is too expensive to go without those.
Yeah. Coins. I don't know what the heck coins are for.
Coins?
And
You know,
Ring
I haven't figured out what the coins are for yet either.
Okay, it's not just me. You do like levels, JJ. Like, okay, here, jog this track that's a half mile long.
Yep.
And you got to do things with the ring while you're jogging, like squeeze it and point it down to jump over things.
Okay.
Or like squeeze it and aim it at things to break boxes or open doors. Kind of like you would make a fan or whatever, but like you squeeze it to make the air go out.
If you pull on it, it turns into a vacuum to pull things like coins towards you.
Oh, so literally
okay.
like a fan and a... Okay, got it.
See, they don't explain the vacuum maneuver. That was number one. I had coins. I was going to ask you. I was going to send you a picture because I'm like, I have no idea how to get these coins.
I remember that being explained because that's how I knew how to do it.
Oh, see, but I haven't done the main game. I've only done the mini
that's
games.
why. That's why. It's explained in the main game.
Right. The mini games don't really explain the moves.
Yeah, I was gonna bet Andrew, you just need to play more of the game. But if you're playing the side games, then that's why.
I googled what are coins for, and no one has an answer for me easily.
So I think I know the answer, and the answer is go watch a 30-minute video like I did about Ring Fit like a year ago or whatever. That shows them playing the game, and it shows them like going to the shop inside the adventure mode or whatever and buying
we haven't gotten
smoothies
to the
and
shop
shakes
yet.
or whatever.
Right. Okay. I wonder if the mini game coins carry over to the main game. That'd be interesting to find out.
You would think so.
You would hope.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or at least
because like they don't they don't
put
care. It's like yeah. It's not like the coins are limited because you can always go back and play other levels and get more.
All right. We have to troubleshoot something on my Switch. While playing Ring Fit, the screen goes black. HDMI cable?
Is your Ring Fit plugged in? Is your Switch plugged into a TV?
Yes, because of Ring Fit.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Why are you looking at the screen if it's plugged into a TV?
the TV screen keeps dropping connection. I would think that's the HDMI cable.
Sounds like it.
Or your Switch just isn't seated well in the dock.
Yeah, that's the other one.
All right.
Take out the Switch, blow on it, and put it back in.
A person who has basically never, only a couple times removed the Switch from their dock. The TV stays on when the Switch is on, and then it turns off when you turn it off.
Well, you know what? This is a good transition. Speaking of removed versus unremoved, due to my Switch having finally been plugged into the TV, I busted out the Pro controller. Tetris,
as you should.
Well, Tetris had
the good way to play.
Okay. Well, hold up. Tetris had an event this weekend. The Pro controller has been very nice in Final Fantasy XII on the TV. The hot take. Email us at podcast@wewergamers.com. I will argue with you. Even if you're a Tetris Pro, I will argue with you. The Pro controller is trash for Tetris.
So are you talking about the D-pad specifically?
Yes.
The D-pad isn't very good. I'm not going to defend the Pro controller there.
It is.
I will say that the fact that it is a D-pad instead of 4 distinct buttons makes it better than Joy-Cons.
Nope.
But I won't argue. You're just wrong about that.
Not on the D-pad for Tetris.
You're just wrong. I want a D-pad. I don't want 4 distinct buttons. So you're just wrong.
But
I won't argue that it's a good D-pad. It's not a good D-pad. It's bad. It's a bad D-pad.
Played Tetris this weekend on the Pro controller, and it double hard dropped me multiple times on a single press of that D-pad. It's too sensitive.
Well, that could happen whether or not you have a D-pad or separate buttons, right?
Nope. Yeah, exactly.
No, because it happens when you accidentally brush it too. Like if you're moving left to right and you rotate instead of lift your finger.
Right, like why I said it's a bad D-pad.
Right. It'll rotate
but a
accidentally.
D-pad, any D-pad is better than 4 distinct buttons.
No, because it rotates accidentally. 4 distinct buttons for Tetris is better. Because you can't
you also have
rotate into the hard
back up
drive.
though. How many hours have you played this Tetris game on 4 distinct buttons?
A lot of hours.
And this is your first time ever playing on a Pro controller.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that maybe this is you getting used to the controller as opposed to you complaining the controller itself actually being bad?
Nah, I tried and I placed like in the 80th position, switched back to the
Right, the one
Joy-Con?
you have hundreds of hours on, and all of a sudden we're better because
yeah.
you understand it better.
Yeah,
and
but I
understand
didn't
the
accidentally
controller.
hard drop on top of my pile like 5 times.
Right. Again, because you understand it and have used it a long time.
Okay, but you can roll your fingers when it's 4 distinct buttons. You can't roll your fingers on the other one.
I mean, why?
Because
It's
if you
there. have a
roll
D-pad.
if you roll across the D-pad, it's too sensitive and it hard drops the thing.
No, I think the question was more, why would you need to roll your fingers as opposed to just
Yeah,
distinct?
why are you rolling at all? You have 4 distinct buttons, and you have a
Because you
D-pad.
it's
Why are
faster
you
than
rolling?
picking your finger up. Uh-oh. I don't know why OBS tried to do what it did. All right, see? Look,
Look, I'm not here to
you-
defend the D-pad on the Pro Controller. It's a bad D-pad. So you're not. I'm not here to tell you that it's good.
okay.
I am here to tell you that any D-pad is better than 4 distinct buttons.
I think that in most cases you're right.
There are 700 other controllers you can use for the Switch. Go Google it. I know a lot of people have done this. And go get an 8BitDo or the Pokken controller or any of 10,000 other
Right,
ones.
if you have the best controller
that
for
are out there.
Tetris, email us podcast@wewergamers.com.
Yeah, it's a very popular topic because everyone knows the 4 distinct buttons and the D-pad on the Pro Controller both suck.
Okay, I'm not going to defend the 4 distinct buttons. I'm literally only talking about Tetris. But
Then
send
use
me
what you're happy with, man.
suggestions because I think I need to get I think I need to get one of these 8BitDo ones, and I don't know which one.
I mean, if you're just using so don't use the Pro Controller for Tetris, apparently, is your recommendation here. But in my experience, I've used it for like every other game I've ever played on a Switch, and it has been wonderful.
I just tricked you though, because I don't need an 8BitDo for my Switch.
Okay.
I need it for my Analogue Pocket.
The bait and switch.
I gotcha. I really reeled you in there, didn't I?
So you didn't get caught by the website slowdowns that angered so many people?
I did get caught by website slowdowns, but I started at 8:00:01. And so my slowdown
you
was
played
ahead of everyone else's slowdown.
You turned your bot on at 7:59.
Yeah, Michael, Andrew has played the Comic-Con game. He knows what's up.
Yeah.
I hit F5 a lot. And when that shipping error happened, I kept hitting F5, and then my shipping error went away, and I am the proud owner of a pre-ordered Analogue Pocket.
Okay. I'm very curious one day in the aftertime of being able to one day see this thing.
In person, you mean?
Yeah, I want to put it in my hand and be like, huh, and then give it back to you.
I was
The
going to
D-pad on it looks good, by
in
the
my
way.
pocket and say, "Well, see you later."
You have an analog pocket right here. This pocket is not digital.
All pockets on my pants are analog, just so you guys know.
Exactly, man.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was in my cart at like 8:05 and waiting for the shipping to happen, and I just started seeing on Twitter like the backlog of things. Did you follow up on how bad it was? Because I stopped paying attention after my pre-order went through.
So I heard everything was gone in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just saw the internet people, like a bunch of people that I follow, like internet personality people that were just like, "Oh, I wanted this. Oh man, it's sold out within minutes." Blah blah blah. I'm just like, I tried, man.
Knowing how famous their other devices have been in the aftermarket and how big a deal it was whenever they reprint those devices, I kind of knew that this was probably going to be short stocked, especially given current conditions.
Yep.
So
And apparently they've already been showing up on auction sites for more than double the asking price.
oh, really?
Yep.
Well, I mean, of course, but also you're selling someone a pre-order for a piece of hardware that maybe or maybe does not exist.
Literally just about to say, oh, really? Because I would be very cautious about taking somebody's money 10 months before a piece of hardware that could be as good as it says, but might not be, shows up.
Yeah, exactly, man. And they have Analog in the past have made like really nice pieces of hardware, and also some that people are like this is good, but not like amazing.
I don't know. This thing promises the world. We'll see.
I will tell you the look of it, like from the pictures and stuff they've showed, is pretty slick.
It looks
Oh
awesome.
yeah, it looks great.
Screen looks amazing. The device layout. I'm happy.
I like that they went all the way with the screen and were like, it is an exact multiple of the original screen, right?
Yep.
It's like the original screen is whatever by whatever. This is like 4x exactly that.
You're
it's
gonna love the
1-to-1.
new announcement even more than JJ. Probably Michael too. They said they're using this extra time to create exact replica modes for the screen. So do you want it to look like a GB1 Generation 1 when you turn it on? It'll look like that. Do you want it to look like a Game Boy Color when you turn it on? It'll look like that. Do you want it to look like a Game Boy Advance? It can look like that. Or let it interpolate all these things on its own and make it look better.
So exact filters, basically.
Mm-hmm.
To like limit the colors or whatever allowed to the screen so that it's that awful green color or whatever.
Right. Like, what if that awful green color had a backlight? Like, that's it. That's what it looks like.
Wow. Yeah, that's super smart because I bet from their side, the hardware to do that is not like it's not free and it's not easy, but it is certainly something that could be done from the hardware side.
They've got those,
but it's not something that is it's not something that is like requires an insurmountable amount of work, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, for every game you run, you have to set this mode or whatever. It's just like, this is something they can just do in their like OS layer or whatever.
Yeah. They've got those chips in there, the FPGA chips, so they can make whatever, really, just to kind of takes the time. And if you got the time now, because your hardware is delayed, might as well use it.
So, important question for you, Andy. Which color did you get?
Oh, yes. Very important question.
Both.
So you kicked the can down the road on making a choice, huh?
Uh-huh. They sell a link cable. How could I not get two?
Uh-huh.
What are you going to link it to, man? You going to play both sides of your Pokemon so you can battle yourself?
I kicked the can down the road because I couldn't decide.
That is I couldn't. Almost this. That is one step away from the saddest thing that you could have said.
I think
if you go through with selling the other one, I won't feel like that's sad. But if you don't, this is a very sad move.
I have multiple concerns. One being I couldn't decide what color. Two, I kind of did have the idea that maybe I don't know. I really feel bad saying that I'd probably sell the other one, but like, let's be honest. You could
sell the other one in like a year after it comes out or whatever. You don't have to sell it day one.
Yeah. Sit with it, decide. I also grabbed it in case people I knew wanted them and didn't get them. And I also have multiple kids in this house.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe one of them decides like GBA games are their jam and that's the thing they love forever now.
Well, if they see me playing one, so I had all these thoughts. I went into this with one in the cart and I got there and I was like, I can't not, right? So we'll see. If neither of them seems to want to pick it up, then maybe it goes. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway. Hey.
Hello.
Have we all been playing more Final Fantasy XII?
Yeah, a little bit.
Indeed.
Toe dipping? I don't know.
I want to know where you are, man. I feel like although I don't know, Michael, have you started again yet?
Yes. Yeah. So I started before last week's pod and then played some more over the weekend.
Okay. I felt like last time we podded, Andrew was the farthest back, but maybe that's not true.
I was catching up to him. I don't know if I may have passed
I think
it.
he just... you went through the prison and you're done with it?
Yes. So I got out of the prison and went back to Rabanastre.
Okay. And that's where you're at?
Yes.
Okay. Then you've just... you've passed me. By a tiny bit.
How do we feel about the grand conflict, whatever we think that it is at this point.
You mean like
Who do we feel for Dalmasca here? Are we like on board with this?
okay?
Country
You're
that
talking
we-
about the global,
the
history, right?
the grand scale of these countries that are apparently at war,
Well,
which we know nearly nothing about.
The map at the beginning shows that Dalmasca is tiny compared to
Right.
What I can't remember the names of all these places.
Ooh,
That
yeah,
basically the two countries it divides. Yeah.
it's Rosaria and
Arcadia.
Arcadia. Yeah,
Arcadia is the quote unquote bad guys, right?
they're the evil empire. Yeah,
Yeah, because they're in the north side of Ivelis, I think. Anyway, I mean, they do a pretty large paintbrush on trying to make Arcadia the conquering colonials, right? Like, at the beginning, they tell you that Dalmasca kind of just gets run over because they're weak. It was hard
because they're small.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know.
I guess. Yeah, go
They
ahead.
don't make you feel. I don't know. Your question's a weird one because, like,
Well, because that's my point, right? Like, do you feel like you care about this country at all, other than the game telling you you're supposed to?
I certainly feel like I was gonna care, and then only like 6 people of all the people that live in Dalmasca care.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
like, if they don't care, but only like these small group of rebels that are blowing things up care. Yeah, I don't know. Your question's a weird one because I thought you were getting you would just be invested in like freeing Dalmasca, but like I already have the feeling now that like we're not gonna be freeing Dalmasca from anything. So what's the point?
I think you will. Well, I don't know.
Also, King Ramenus is kind of
Right?
he's kind of a weakling, right? Like,
Doesn't really seem like he knows what's going
he
on.
didn't try very hard. You know what I mean?
There's a lot in this game that I feel like is just really incongruous between nations that are literally border each other and have for apparently a super long time. So it's like, Arcadia has all this like really advanced ships and technology and stuff. And this little country that has literally bordered them for centuries, everyone is like farming and dirt houses and
You're certainly
You're
right.
like,
The technology is very incongruous. Where it's like that's a flying ship, but everybody's just a chocobo knight.
right.
I don't know.
Like they have an airport in this city, like
But no one knows how to wear a midriff to their shirts. You're like, we
Halter
live in the
top.
desert, but also wear
It's
no
hot,
clothes.
man. It's
I've
hot.
seen a
I
lot
want
of people that live in the desert. They wear a lot of clothes, actually.
to point out that also when Vaughn, the main character, goes to places that are very cold, he does not change his attire. So
Yeah, this is back in that day where you're like, I equipped this cool weapon, but it doesn't look as cool as it looks in the picture.
when you equip different swords and like shields and stuff, you'll see them.
Yeah,
They
I
show
know.
up
I've
differently,
seen
yeah.
them. It's just like you're like, this looks cooler in the screen than it looks on the. Anyway,
I think the rest of the weapons don't show up though, like armor and stuff doesn't.
yeah,
really
No,
none
change.
of
they
that
don't.
shows up. Look, it's real easy to not like Vane, right? The
Sure, yeah.
the prince, I guess.
Vein solid ore.
Yeah, he's kind of snaky.
When I first played this game, we're going back many, many years here, around when it originally came out in the US. I looked at Vane and I was like, is he that guy from Final Fantasy VIII?
Oh, Cypher?
No. The guy with the long black hair.
Laguna?
Yeah.
Oh, Laguna.
He looks like him.
Does he look like
A little
Laguna?
bit.
I gotta find a picture where he looks like Laguna.
I thought he looked like him, and I was like, "The heck is this guy?"
Okay, now
And then I like held this weird feeling for like half of the game that I played, which I never finished, and was like, "What is up with this dude?"
maybe
And
he is Laguna.
I don't know, man.
It
I
was
never
all
got
just
to
a
the
dream.
end.
You know, Laguna Loire was all just a dream, or not, or maybe.
Spoilers, man, for Final Fantasy VIII.
Jeez, how old of
Yeah.
a game? 22 years.
Yeah, dude, it's not a spoiler. It's fine. But so, like, I don't know. Look, the game doesn't make you like Vayne. He's not. He's clearly not someone anyone is supposed to be on board with,
I
right?
just get the feel. Oh my gosh. So if you do a CG portrait of the two next to each other, they do look identical.
See, I'm not crazy.
Not
Gotta
the like
reuse those
in-game
assets.
in-game assets do not look the same, but like
Sure, yeah.
the marketing CGs of them, they do look ominously close. Look, I don't know if this game has more in store story-wise. Like not like 8 and 10 both get out there towards the end, and I assume 12 is gonna do the same. It just seemed like from the beginning, oh, there's gonna be the revelation that this person's alive. Yeah, clearly, like that's gonna be the twist. There better be another one.
I won't.
Wait, which
I won't-
person?
I think you're talking Bosch.
Yeah, clearly.
Oh, yeah,
like
okay.
the whole time when they just keep telling you over and over and over again that Bosch is dead.
I didn't know if you meant the king or the guy that gets murdered or the prince or
No,
whatever.
I just
Okay,
sprung.
anyway.
I just sprung. Sorry, Bosch is his name, right?
Bosch. Yeah.
Bosch.
Bosch
from jail.
from the cage.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
The,
like
the most well foreshadowed piece of plot twist.
yeah,
ever.
right, exactly. Like they just keep telling you how this thing at the beginning happened with Bosch. You saw Bosch in the beginning. You saw him save the king's kid or like son-in-law. I don't whatever. Anyway, they put a lot of assets into that dude, and then they keep telling you about him like every 5 minutes. And then
it's a long game. This is like hour 4.
I'm not negative on it. I just
No, I'm just saying. Like you're not going to get the big plot twists yet.
sure fair.
Yeah, but
I just feel
will
like
say
it's more.
without,
Sorry, go ahead.
without giving anything away that this game is not as out there in terms of the plot going totally sideways as like 8 or 10.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely like nothing. I'm significantly farther than you, but nothing out here has been like, wait,
The
what?
aliens?
Right? Yeah. It's not like all of a sudden, oh, it was a dream kind of stuff. Yeah. No.
Okay. Well, that's our FF12 update for today, I think. Maybe.
Yeah. Did you have a question on gambits?
I
Andy?
think
You
Gambits
mentioned-
is a
we
longer
should talk about
conversation.
Gambits, man.
Okay.
I don't know. We have a lot to finish.
Okay,
There's so much stuff.
next week.
Let's save Gambits for next time.
There's a lot to talk about. So
Because, I want to feel like I know what I'm talking about rather than just asking how it works. I would think it would be a more interesting conversation once I've
Sure.
sat with it enough time. Like, I get it. But, like,
you got to play with it.
Yeah,
And the
that's
game
the
is
thing,
kind
right?
of
Like, you can
built
just
in a
sort of
way to
set it-
let you do it. Yeah.
right, yeah. You could just sort of set it and forget it if you want.
Yeah, I mean, you could literally, if you level up enough, you can just kind of ignore Gambits entirely. Just play as the one character and switch when you need to.
Right. And that's the thing I'm trying to not do so that I can learn how powerful or not powerful Gambits are and have an intelligent conversation about it.
It's totally a fair way to play if you want to. I'm just saying.
Okay. Speaking of politics in games, JJ,
Hello.
why did the Civ 5 politics system not make it into Civ 6?
Huh? What? It didn't?
No.
They were planning on having all the civics tree and stuff into Civ 5?
No, I'm saying why in Civ 5 can you do things in politics with other nations that you cannot do in Civ 6?
I don't know, man.
It
Why are
seems
you
to
asking me
me
this?
if you had all this diplomatic favor, you could then maybe spend it for things other than every 50 turns when the World Congress meets. Let's say you would know in advance what the World Congress would do, and you could use your diplomatic favor to tell a country to do something for you.
Can you not offer it as a trade negotiation? I'm pretty sure you can.
You can't offer it as a trade negotiation for votes on anything, though. So, like, the other thing is, I have all this view in the game, right? Like, hey, send some spies over there, and then you'll get more diplomatic insights on those characters. Lo and behold, the diplomatic insights are, well, they just researched rocketry. It's like,
Well, it also tells you their agendas, so you know the goals they generally are going to have.
but when you
That's really all diplomatic insight is useful for.
show up at the World Congress and it's like, one civ is planning to vote for option B. I really wish they had fleshed this system out a little bit deeper. I have finally done it. I have now completed all victories in Civ 6.
Congrats.
Well done.
Diplomatic victory is by far the hardest.
I think diplomatic victory is annoying. I will say I think culture victory is more difficult generally. But diplomatic victory can be very difficult if there's like a lot of civs still left, right?
There were a lot of civs left. The problem is that you have to know your... Unlike the other ones, you can kind of build up and be like, I'm pretty good at culture this game, right? Like, you always know your civ is good at something.
Yeah.
Like, my civ is good at the wars, so I should do the wars. Like, okay. My civ is good at culture, I'm going to do the culture. But the diplomatic one, you have to start from minute one getting ready to be suzerain of things, and knowing that when you hit 13 diplomatic victory points, no country will deal with you on anything.
Yeah.
Unlike every...
I feel like
I could be
I
at
don't know.
war.
I feel like that's not different in Civ 5, though. If you're like 1 point away from winning in Civ 5, they also won't deal with you.
No, but at least in that version, you have the city-states that you can just force to victory.
Yeah, okay.
So they'll tell you, and a lot of strategies will tell you to build a culture country, because culture generates tourism, and tourism can be used to get diplomatic favor. I threw that advice out after the second time I lost, and I built an economic powerhouse country.
I mean, I feel like I feel like that advice is still good advice, though. Like you can still build a bunch of culture stuff.
Sure.
It's not hard to buy that stuff later, Like you can still do it.
Yeah.
It just then you have to wait a bunch of turns, because the problem with culture is that culture really does take so long to eventually make its way over there.
Yeah.
It's not like you can hit end turn 5 times and all of a sudden you took over that country. It's like 15 turns before they're like, oh, now we're buying your blue jeans or whatever.
Especially once they ban rock bands, which should not be allowed. I know why
you got to fight. You got to fight the rock band ban, man. Those are essential if you want to win with culture.
Yeah. No, I just built an economic country. And I was making a couple hundreds of golds per turn.
Because you can spend diplomatic favor to vote against things, and you could just vote against rock bands 500 times, and then they can never counter it.
So the thing I did, I waited to generate diplomatic victory points until I had 10 times as much diplomatic favor as everyone, because I just kept buying it off of them. I was like, you can be suzerain, I don't care. Just give me the points you're getting from those people. Sell them to me for hundreds of dollars. And then I had 10 times as many points as everyone else. And then you have to wait for everything to line up. You got to wait for an emergency proclamation to happen so you can get diplomatic victory from that. It's...
If you have 10 times the favor of everyone else, you can't just vote yourself in to win?
Not when there's like 10 civs. They'll all
Okay,
vote
so see, this is
you.
your problem right here, man. Why are you letting there still be 10 civs?
Because I
It's
didn't go
still
to war
Civ.
with
You
her. I
can go
just
out
put-
there and you can go fight them.
Man, I have the
It's real
money.
easy.
I don't need to fight anyone. I got money.
It's really easy though. They vote with you when they're your Civ. Peace through unity.
Diplomatic
Unity
victory
through.
because I annihilated 9 out of 10 other civs.
Resistance is futile. Is that where you're going with this, JJ?
Yeah, exactly. It's the what's the
What's the quote about diplomacy at the
V for
barrel of a
Vendetta.
gun, via the barrel of a gun, or something like that?
the strength through unity, unity through
Yeah.
peace. Peace is forever or whatever. 1984.
man.
Anyway,
Well, I think I
I've
can.
always
set
been
down
at
Civ.
war with East Asia.
I can finally set down Civ for a while and focus on FF12. So that's good. All right. I think we did a little bit of it last time. No, we did a lot of it last time. So we'll do a little bit of it this time. I got it backwards. You want to do some news?
Okay.
Sure.
Start with a fun one. Dwayne Johnson.
The Rock, everybody's favorite.
Tell him to
He's so
pass
hot right
the
now.
Rock. Get it? Or is
He's buying a basketball league?
Damn it.
He
thought
screwed
it
that one
also-
up, dude.
Can't you call a pigskin a rock? Does that not work?
I don't think
I think
when
people
someone
were-
says someone passed me the rock, they usually
You mean a basketball.
basketball.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a basketball thing.
Okay, well, he bought football instead.
I wanted to.
Well, he bought the XFL.
Can we
Yeah,
turn...
did he buy football?
Who can I email to get him to turn it into a rugby league?
I mean, the rules were different, so how far was it really?
Can he just dial back the rules to almost rugby? Allow the pass, but that's it?
I think the thing that America will have a problem with rugby is that there are big scrums and a lot of like tackling people and stuff, but there are no hits, you know? And people like, for better or worse, the most dangerous part of football, which
But
is all
see-
the hitting.
Okay.
And that doesn't happen in rugby because no one has pads and no one is going to run into another person full speed when you don't have pads on because you are going to get hurt.
Because I'm really curious to see what that guy does with the XFL. Because he's a smart enough person to understand if the XFL is basically the same as the NFL, but they have wacky rules and wacky people, the same thing's going to happen that's happened to the XFL twice.
Yeah, the NFL owner is going to be like, no, let's sue you into oblivion
Or they'll go bankrupt like they've done twice. So
because they were sued into oblivion.
right, you know, what does the man, the myth, the Dwayne do with the XFL, Michael? What do you think?
Oh no.
Look,
I'm trying to decide which way he tries to take it. If he tries to leave it as just something flashy or actually wants to mold it into a league.
I want to point out two things. First, he is a part owner. He's in a conglomerate of
Right.
other moneyed individuals and groups that bought this. The
as
XFL,
far as I
right?
can tell, he's the face of this. Like
in the way that Magic Johnson owned the Lakers,
Yeah.
maybe
this guy owns the
the
XFL.
man had enough money to do this on his own.
I mean, he could have gone through his couch cushions and turned up the money at 15 mil.
Right. That's chump change for him. But I think the point is that he probably didn't want to invest 15 million in whatever this is. Because it's not like they got the assets, right? They don't get the teams. They don't get any of the organization of the XFL. They own the IP and the name.
Is that it?
I mean, I think so. I don't think they didn't talk about him buying the teams and stuff.
Okay.
So
he
like
bought the
you know,
name for 15 million.
the only thing I can think of, which I think Michael came up with first in our little chat before this, was that like he's going to make a TV show out of it.
Oh, absolutely. It'll have to be some sort of
Turn it into some sort of competition instead of an actual league.
maybe.
Like that, or is he just going to use it as like a off-brand NFL that he can license to movie studios to have they want to have an NFL movie or whatever, but they can't use the actual NFL.
Turn it into Ninja Warrior football.
There you go.
Okay.
Doesn't he already have a
Ninja
show like
Warrior's
that?
pretty fun. I would be
Obstacle
into
course
that.
football could be cool.
What's that show he had recently?
Titan games,
Is that it?
Yes, I think that's what it was called.
which is like
something
that.
close
Yeah,
to
it's like Ninja Warrior, but for strong people.
It's like American Gladiator for buff dudes. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, Titan games.
I think it was a cross between those two ideas.
Basically.
American Gladiator meets Ninja Warrior.
So like, maybe, sure, yeah, gamify the game of football with like American Gladiator dudes out there with batons
Okay.
or whatever.
I think. Yeah, it's so weird that it was sold from Vince McMahon, a wrestling guy, to another wrestling guy. Like, is that why he did the deal? Because he's like, oh man, I know Dwayne, he's cool. Like, what? So weird, right?
I think.
Or does it just have like wrestling connotations, so people assume there needs to be a wrestling guy involved?
I think he bought it because he liked playing football when he was a kid. Like kid, I mean high school, college. He played football in college. I'm pretty sure.
Did he?
Yes. Almost certain. I know way too much about The Rock.
I mean, he's a famous public figure, so that's not
Okay.
weird necessarily.
We're done with that sport. Let's talk about another sport.
Also being gamified.
Blaseball.
Oh yeah.
What?
Are you guys participating in the cultural event of Blaseball?
What? Start from the very beginning.
All right. Blaseball.com, right? BLASEBALL.com.
Do I need to have my virus protection on max?
I mean,
It sounds like a viral infection
it
waiting to happen.
feels kind of like a satanic baseball league, so maybe.
Oh, what?
I mean, there's some weird stuff going on. I don't know if you have paid enough attention to what Blaseball is doing out
I
here.
don't know. Literally know the name Blaseball, and it says Vice says a dangerous time waster.
Yeah, the
And then-
website isn't exactly forthcoming with details.
And then you have to
This is-
click this ominous green button to actually see what's going on. Where it's like,
So once you
enter
log in-
here, give me your credit card. You know.
You don't have to give them anything. You log in. They steal your personal information just like every other game and website on the internet.
Okay, great.
Once you get in there, it is a fake baseball league. There
Who
are
you
two
playing
leagues. There is the good league and the evil league.
Is this a worldwide thing? Like, who's in? How many people per league? Is this a fantasy?
I mean,
thing?
everyone is in the league. No, it's the teams are already all there. You don't get to control the teams.
Oh,
You're just a person, man. You get to bet.
so wait, this is a
on
betting
who's
site.
gonna win.
Oh, so they are gonna steal my credit card.
well, but it's not a betting site.
What?
No,
the
I mean
heck are we
you
doing
have
here?
you have fake coins. You can place bets on the outcomes of the games.
So someone is just making up the games, and you bet on them. What? That's
Yeah,
it.
it's like an algorithm, and then it resets every week. Every week is a season, and at the end of the season, it resets, and other crazy stuff happens.
Like, what do you mean crazy?
So the game, right? You have a bunch of coins when you start. You get to vote. There's an election that happens at the end of every week, and a bunch of crazy effects can happen. For instance, one of the things you can vote for is called Eat the Crust, and 5 players from the 2-time champion Pies. Pies is the name of the team that has won the last 2 times. The Philly Pies. They will be reassigned to random teams, so you can just vote to screw over the best team.
Who's getting screwed in that instance? A computer? Nobody owns that team, right?
Yeah, no, of course no one owns it.
Okay.
It's just Blaseball is the league, man.
Okay.
You're just observing. You're
Just
here.
observers in the Blaseball universe.
You can vote on a thing that makes stolen bases worth 0.1 run,
Okay.
and then there are a bunch of other things you can vote for that will enhance certain random players. So another player on a team will randomly get 15% more base running, or the best player in your team's division will just join your team. Or you get to there's one called Summoning Circle that re-rolls your team's 3 worst hitters.
You keep saying your team.
Yeah. So when you join, you are forced to select a favorite team.
Oh.
And your favorite team then, when you vote for these things, you're affecting that team.
Do you have to... Okay, so then where does the betting fit in, and how does that fit into you having a favorite team?
So the coins, right? You get you start with, I think it's 200 coins or something. I don't know. When there are games that are ongoing, right? It's all done by algorithms. It's not like people are out here actually playing the game. There's nothing to do. But there's odds, right? It's this percent versus this percent. You bet on your team. If you win, you make money. You lose your money, right?
And they play the games every night? How does that work?
They play every day. They're going on constantly.
Oh.
And you can spend the money on votes, so you can buy more votes. You can spend the money on gaining daily income, essentially. You can spend money on being allowed to bet more, and then a bunch of other weird things.
Daily income meaning it's a clicker?
When your team wins, you earn a certain amount of coins.
Okay.
And so you can increase the amount of coins you get from that winning by, daily. And like actual baseball, in a best of 3, even the worst team generally gets 1, right?
Sure.
The team may go 1-12, but they're winning half of the best of 3s, right? They're winning 1 game in those best of 3s, but they still went 1-12 because they lost all the series.
Okay.
So you're getting coins all the time, and then you can use these coins for these various things. And these elections, like I was telling you about, these steal the players or make base running or vote for change the stats of the team players or whatever. You could just buy with coins, right? You get 1 vote for free every week. And then beyond that, you can just pay 100 coins and get more.
Can you change your favorite team?
Yes, you can pay coins to change your favorite team.
What is going to prevent this becoming the thing that happens with all internet games where all people are on 1 or 2 teams?
The coin cost to change your favorite teams is 2,000. You start with 200. There is no way to purchase coins.
That's a good thing.
With real money. So,
okay. Are you addicted to this?
No, but it is a fun, silly little thing to log into. There is a Patreon that funds this.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
I have no idea how much money they're making. This is hilarious. Let me read you some of the team names. Right, so they're divided into the Evil League and the Good League, like the NL and the AL. Right.
Yep.
The Evil League team is the Lawful Evil and the Chaotic Evil sides. And then the teams in there are teams like the Hades Tigers, the Mexico City Wild Wings, the Baltimore Crabs, the Seattle Garages, the Houston Spies, the Miami Dale, the Breckenridge Jazz Hands. On the Good League, there's the Lawful Good and the Chaotic Good leagues, just like the same divisions. It's the Los Angeles Tacos, the Dallas Steaks, the Kansas City Breath Mints, the New York Millennials, the Hawaii Fridays. These team names are so dumb, and they all have little logos and standings. And you click on a team, and you can just find they have the list of every player and all their pitchers.
But those players might change next week when they lose their players.
Oh, yeah, of course, right? Yeah. A season is 1 week long in BLASEBALL, so at the end of there might be free agency. Maybe your guy gets abducted into a satanic ritual or whatever. I don't know.
Okay, cool.
It's very silly.
All right, I think we have to go from silly to serious. Do you want to talk about compensation at Blizzard?
I love being compensated.
I am, of course, talking about financial compensation.
I like that.
What was the website? Bloomberg? Is it Bloomberg?
It was
Yes.
Bloomberg.
I believe Jason Schreier, formerly of Kotaku, is now writing for Bloomberg, and an article he put up today quoting anonymous sources at Blizzard Entertainment, basically comparing a bunch of salaries across divisions there and going, these seem low.
Yes, comparing salaries to comparable positions at other companies. It seems that Blizzard themselves tried to do some sort of compensation review where a lot of people may have brought up that they felt that their pay was low comparatively, and the company said, well, we'll look through it and make it right, and people got some sort of make-up raises to try and bring their salaries commensurate to maybe more of what people would have expected for their position at other companies.
Closer to the industry standard, maybe.
Maybe. There's some interesting quotes in this article because a lot of people reported that they didn't get much of anything when it came to raises. And
sounded like some were expecting a raise up to 10% and got far less than that.
Yes. We are constantly reviewing compensation philosophies to better recognize the talent of our highest performers. This year, Blizzard's top performers received a salary increase. Listen to this very carefully. That was 20% more than in prior years, and more people got promotions. Our overall salary investment is consistent with prior years.
So they've been underpaying people forever, is what I just heard.
Also, a salary increase that was 20% more than.
Yeah,
most people get a salary increase of 3 to 4%. What's 20% of 4%?
Yeah, you got 4.5, man.
Wow.
Yeah, so there is no world where coming individually to your manager and telling them, I could make a lot more money by leaving the company, they would go, oh my gosh, you're right, and then give you a 15% raise.
Never.
That never, ever happens.
You have to actually leave.
You have to leave, where you then will get 15% from the other company. And then if you really don't want to be there, you can then go back to your other company and be like, hire me back. Yeah. And that does work and sometimes.
And also give me another 15% raise.
And that will also work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
So I
also
can't say I'm surprised, because Blizzard is obviously a very popular, well-liked company, or has been in the past anyway.
Yeah, I have thoughts there.
And, people that love your product, you don't have to pay them as much because there's enough people that want to pay them, that want to do your job, Andrew.
The experience of working here.
I hadn't thought about that. One other quote I wanted to read here. One veteran Blizzard employee told Bloomberg News they received a raise of less than 50 cents an hour, which could be a significant percentage. However, that employee is now making less than they did almost a decade ago due to fewer overtime hours.
I take comments like that with a grain of salt, though, right? Sure, if you're not putting in the same overtime, like if you're putting lots of overtime in and suddenly you cut back to a standard 40 hours a week, then yeah, you might be making less than you were. That's not necessarily a great picture of the comparison between then and now in terms of how much you make.
All right. I have two rebuttals to you. One, how many of those people are hired telling them that they're going to have overtime?
Oh, 100%.
And two, it is not unusual to hear of people, especially in this industry, going from hourly to salary and making less money as well.
Yeah, so that's the one I was just about to bring up, because
that one.
Yeah, as a person who works at a company who converted a bunch of its junior employees to hourly, actually.
Required by law in California now.
Yeah, to some level, right? Like, it's not clear where the line is, but there certainly is a line that, like, entry-level people really should be salaried or hourly. Right?
Hourly.
Right.
And, I just did a quick napkin math here, and $65,000 a year, which is like, low entry level maybe, or was, a few years ago.
Sure.
Comes out to like $750 an hour.
Not hard to make more than $750 an hour.
Right. So depending on how senior this so calculating it your hourly rate if you're salaried really doesn't make any sense because you aren't paid that way, right?
Right.
But
I'm assuming this person wasn't, since they calculated it hourly.
Right. So if you are paid hourly, right, and the company offers to take you salaried, it may be to your benefit to decline in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And that also may mean you don't get a promotion or whatever, but the company gets something out of taking you off the hourly and turning you to salary, because then they can just have you work infinite hours for no extra pay. Right.
I think you're right, Michael, that it's not apples to apples, but it's definitely a red flag quote of a type of culture that exists of attempting to underpay by any means. And it sounds like this has gotten, I think sometime last year, we talked on this pod, which we don't often do, about the business end of things over there. And one of the things that stuck out to us was the new CFO being appointed, who came over, who was Bobby Kodak's number 2 at Activision, being installed immediately after Morheim quit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is that type of cost-cutting stuff that Activision is known for, which has run multiples of their smaller studios out of business.
I mean, Blizzard last year laid off hundreds of people, and then Activision turned around and posted hundreds of millions of dollars of profit. So, I like, oh no, we have to cut costs. Activision then looks really good on its balance sheet for this year. Like, it is a losing proposition to try to say, like, we're being underpaid, Mr. Boss. Will you please pay me more? You can certainly ask, right? It's never going to hurt to ask, but you're not likely to get anything. It's a weird time.
A really bad,
it's
a
tough,
weird
man.
time to be talking about people's pay and compensation. It really is difficult. I think if 2020 had not been a year of complete and utter global financial devastation, I don't think this story will kind of get lost. I don't think this story would be as lost in 2019. Right?
Yeah, it's really weird too, because obviously, you're in a job like this with a company that is not going out of business, right? And in this kind of world, I would be afraid to leave my position to go to look for work somewhere else, right? So you don't want to just say, like, you should leave your job. But if you've been underpaid for like 5-10 years, in terms of the amount of wealth that you have missed out on generating for yourself, it's like, compound interest is scary, man.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, I don't encourage anyone to actually do this, because you will be depressed about your own personal life, probably.
Oh God, JJ.
Dude, it is. You'll think, like, if I had saved $100 a year when I was 20, right? All of us are much older than 20 at this point. If we had saved $100 a year when we were 20, you would have a lot of money right now.
Don't do that.
But that's what I'm saying, that like 10 years worth of wages that were depressed is money that you will never get back in your life, essentially. Like, it's a big problem for you, But, if you're happy and you enjoy the work and whatever, great. But if you hate the work and are being worked to death, like, that's oof.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of these people have been asked to pick up the slack for the hundreds of employees they laid off with, no commensurate increase. I don't know. I don't know what you do. I was already depressed to talk about this a little bit, because I think both of you know how much at certain points, at highs in my career and at lows in my career, I both times looked at Blizzard and said, I really would like to work there. That's a type of place that I would like to take my skill set and go there. And
I think a lot of that, though, was when Blizzard was still independent.
You think so?
I think that.
The times that I remember you expressing that desire, Blizzard was still independent.
Yeah. I hope talking about this stuff and being open and honest about, like, I mean, it's not just Blizzard. A lot of companies do this. it's interesting that what JJ brought up and what I was gonna say is, I hope talking about it isn't a thing that comes back to bite us, but you got to be honest and say, yeah, I was one of those people that probably would have taken any amount of money if someone told me I could work there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are like you. Like, I think, not that Blizzard is explicitly malicious about that, but they're exploiting the labor that is available to them, right? Not that, why wouldn't they say that they could offer 10% less than a similar job at a different company? You're working for Blizzard.
I'm nodding my head.
It's scary, man. I know.
It's kind of a sad moment to say, like, to have heard that maybe. I mean, this has gone on since before Kotick started really down. It's not like he cut people's pay that I know of in this article.
He cut people's jobs, but
cut a lot of jobs. But if this has been systemic, right? If people have been underpaid this long, then they have been using that selling point of saying, come work at the dream job, and then saying we can pay them anything we want. And it's something I wanted to talk about on here, because it's a bummer to think about wanting to have worked there for so long. And it really tarnishes their image in a time when they are struggling. They might not be financially struggling. My guess is they're propping up Activision still to this day.
I think the mobile game stuff is propping up Activision to this day. But yeah, Blizzard is doing just fine. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You have to imagine the missteps, though, where they're starting to pile up.
Yeah, certainly.
In terms of their image.
I think the bigger issue, beyond even this, is it's not just Blizzard. I bet my suspicion, because again, I have no real information on this, the entire video game industry underpays for similar software type work.
Oh, I think it does, and I think part of it is just how cutthroat it is.
For the same reason, right?
There are so many people who have the skill set that it's the employers get to pick and choose, right? And there's always going to be someone out there who's willing to work for whatever they throw at them.
Yeah, so I don't know that Blizzard is. Maybe they are, and maybe they are particularly worse because they've always had this great public image.
I think that they get the attention because they had and have the image, and they're going to get even more of the attention due to all this stuff that happened with Hong Kong last year.
Right.
And they're continuing releases of things that people aren't buying as much. Anyway, yeah, I think you're right. They're the poster child for maybe continuing stories in this from other places.
Yeah.
Well, at that rate, we should say, I don't know that we have a secure leak link, so send it to Jason Schreier. But if you have stories of the industry and that you want to talk about them, or you want to tell me I'm wrong about the Pro Controller, you'd send that where, Michael?
You can send that to podcast at We Were Gamers. We always love getting email. You could also find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We are at We Were Gamers on all those places. You could go to our website, weweregamers.com. You could check out our YouTube channel. I believe I just listened today to a new Pokemon Go Fest special episode that went up.
What did you think about that?
I appreciate that you left JJ and I out of that.
Yes,
I was definitely lost.
Did your eyes glaze over about halfway through?
My eyes didn't glaze over, but it was just they just threw out a whole bunch of jargon, and I have no idea what any of it means.
I took that speed button on the podcast app and I moved it up to 2.5.
Sorry.
No, man, it's just I didn't. It's not my game, so
I know
it was interesting to hear, though.
That's the thing is I really felt like we could talk about it, and a lot of people might be interested in it, but it was definitely not going to be your bag. Anyway, yeah, it's out there. It's on YouTube. You can find it under guest pods, or you can You can find it on our website or any of our feeds. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you all next week. Michael, I did that thing.
Which thing is that?
I did that thing where I soaked my amiibo boxes.
Oh, did you? How did that work out for you?
Make sure you really are invested in the amount of time it's gonna take.
I did not have enough patience to go through that.
What did you do with yours?
To explain what this is.
I will explain it in a second.
I still have the card backings from all of my boxes.
You just didn't take the plastic off?
in a bag. No, I did take the plastic off.
How?
Very, very carefully with a pocket knife.
With the method, or does it just leave a white strip?
It depends. Some of them did better than others. Some of them
Okay.
it left the color intact. Some of them just have a white strip.
So JJ, we had a discussion a while ago about using the card backs from your amiibos. So like they're in plastic, but they're attached to cardboard, like an action figure.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Some people have instructions online for getting the plastic off and leaving the card mostly intact.
I see.
Basically
It is.
melting the glue off.
Painstaking, from what I understand.
That sounds
Yeah.
boring.
And it's
Yeah.
like days of soaking things and then cleaning them, and then they're still basically not perfect. It's kind of like, yeah, this would make good stuff for a collage, but anyway.
This sounds like something for someone who cares way more than us about amiibos.
I've done it. I don't know what to do with them now that I've done it. But it was part of the cleaning of the house. I don't know if you guys have been doing this, but we cleaned our house. We've been cleaning our house. I went to charity today with a bunch of stuff. It's like I have a huge box out here in the garage of amiibos with their plastic cases, and this is just silly.